Cousin,
Yeah,
what's up, girl?
nothing. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How's life?
Doing doing good, doing good. Just busy, busy, busy. Um, Busy could be a good thing. Sometimes it's not. But yeah, just busy. I'm glad to know that fall is coming in though. I'm excited about that.
Woo!
I
I
like this
guess.
weather change.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not too happy with fall. Me and the cold weather do not get along, honey. Let me tell you something. I don't be even going to work. If it's too cold, I'd be like, I can't come in today. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what time it is. That's what I tell them. I be like, y'all know what time it is.
Well,
Um,
see, what
but
I
get
I'm different because I will put on. They used to call me Eskimo when I lived in Virginia because girl, I put it all on. But I feel like in the heat, you can't take off all your clothes and walk around the street. You're gonna go to jail.
That's right.
It's just miserable and hot.
It just right. You can't no matter what you do, you can't get cool. But in the wintertime you can lay it up and get
I tell you.
warm. Yeah,
Hmm.
I guess. But I'm old. So
You
look,
are not
this is
old.
exactly what the topic of tonight's show is. Life after 50. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, growing older is a privilege that's denied to many. So
Yes, it
know,
is.
the fact that we are here and we still pushing and moving, that's a blessing, and it's
Yes,
a
it
blessing
is.
in and of itself. But there are some people who um get bothered by it. I want to say maybe bothered is if that's the right word to say, bothered, or they become worried or concerned. What you think? That's am I saying the right terminology? You gotta help me
I
out
think
here.
it's because they are now concerned when the older as we become older, we start actually evaluating our lives and it could be the impact that we had on others, but also what do we feel that we have accomplished or not accomplished,
Hmm.
what do we feel is missing from our life, and also, have we reached what we consider to be self-actualization. So when people are aging, they start to realize what's important, what's not important, and all of those things matter because they feel like they're running out of time.
Okay. Oh, come on, see, look at that, girl. That's what you down. But look, we have two dynamic guest speakers with us.
Yes,
Of
we
course,
do.
we have our cousin joining us again, Coach Janet.
Yes, yes,
And we also have a returning brother,
yes,
Dr. Craig Palmer. He joined us last season for a couple of shows, and he's
yes,
back to give a male's perspective on aging gracefully in life after 50 from a men's perspective.
yes.
But before we bring them out, guess what time it is? Guess what time it is? Ooh, guess what time it is? Guess what time is it? Do you know?
Sean speaks.
Yes, girl. Okay. So I'm going to read the Dear Sean letter.
Okay.
And after the Dear Sean letter, we're gonna go to break, and then we're going to bring out Coach Janet and author Craig Palmer to the room, and we're gonna get
Yes.
into this life after 50 thing. Okay, today's letter. Dear Sean, I was so excited when I saw you advertising about living life after 50. I found myself wanting to ask you a question concerning my husband, and I am 51 and he is 53, but I can't seem to understand how long midlife crisis is supposed to last. Okay, come on. We went through the changing of his physical appearance, and it's saying And it's saying trying to get a sporty car, and I thought he would have gotten this crisis out of his life by now. Please help me to understand, am I doing something wrong as a woman and as a wife? Am I not fulfilling his needs and his manhood needs as far as being appreciated or feeling worth? I know I'm kind of asking these questions and it sounds circular, but I'm really confused. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I can help him be able to be satisfied with himself. And the fact that he looks good, but he happens to be aging, and we all have to age one day.
Wow, that's loaded.
Yes, it is.
So, so first of all, to answer your question about the fact, are you doing something wrong? Are you not being a good wife? Are you not fulfilling his needs? First of all, let's just go ahead and say that when a person goes through midlife crisis, it has nothing to do with you. It's actually something internal. It's actually them not being satisfied with themselves, them not being satisfied at where they may find themselves at this stage of life. You mentioned that he went through physical changes. So again, the fear of aging, the fear of losing his identity. Like, I don't know, but let's say he was very popular in high school, or he was considered to be a ladies' man, and now he's feeling like he's no longer that man. And so you said he did physical changes. So sometimes men try to get back their years and get back their life by trying to regain their physical appearance. When you say the sports car, again, that's wanting to be noticed. That's wanting to um, believe that, okay, if I get this car, people will recognize me. And I hate to say it, but sometimes even he wants to see if younger females or just females in general will recognize him. It doesn't mean that he wants to cheat. It just means that he wants to know that he still has it. And we do it too as women, if we want to be honest. We want to know. It feels good when a man says, "Oh, you're beautiful. Oh, you have a beautiful smile, beautiful eyes." We feel good no matter what age we are. So, to tell you the truth, I don't know how long this will last, but the only thing I could do is tell you to continue to support him. And as long as you all are not having any problems in your marriage, I would say let him be, let him go through whatever he feels he needs to go through at this period of his life. And from your letter, you didn't indicate that there was any marital problems. It's just that you're becoming a little aggravated with the fact that he's still trying to regain his youth, or do different things because he's has a fear of aging.
Okay, that was excellent. That was good. Midlife crisis. Do women go through midlife crises?
We do.
We do.
Yes, we start exercising more, dyeing our hair. We um we um men, well, I didn't mention this, but men also have plastic surgery, but women have plastic surgery. um they have it on their face, their bodies, just everything. And so, women, we approach it differently, but we go through it as well, where we're not feeling like we look good anymore, and we're not feeling like we actually are able to get the same attention or that we once did. And so we feel like we need to do things to make ourselves look good and be young. But the reality of it all is we all need to realize that age is something we can't stop,
Oh,
and be
no.
glad that you made it. And that's why I'm so excited about this show.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sean. And we're going to take a quick break. And then after we come back from break, we're going to have our guest speakers join us, Coach Janet and Author Craig Palmer.
Yes.
Coach
Yes.
Janet, what's up?
Hello,
Welcome
cousin.
back.
Cousin? Welcome
Thank
back.
you.
Welcome back. Y'all
I'm-
remember back in the day? I think we're gonna all date ourselves right now. But y'all remember the show Welcome Back, Carter?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Green for your ticket out.
Okay. There you go. See, I started it.
Okay. And we also have joining us Arthur Craig Palmer. Arthur Craig, how are you? Good,
Ladies, how are
good,
you all
good.
this evening?
We're good. We're
Good.
good.
What about you?
I have no complaints. Life is what you make it. So,
Okay. Well,
Yes.
Coach Janet, for
Mm-hmm.
our new viewers or listeners who may not know you because we love you and you've been with us. Oh yes, for the long haul. We bonded here.
Yes,
Yes,
we
We
did.
clink clink. We locked in,
that's
right?
right. That's right. Mhm.
Would you like to tell our listeners okay. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Mm-hmm. I am a certified trauma recovery coach, and I really love to help people learn to process process their emotions and get to the root of their trauma. So as a coach, I support people emotionally. I provide psychoeducation, and I like to say that I have a psycho spiritual approach to coaching, because I don't believe that we can separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I am a survivor of childhood trauma, developmental trauma, which included sexual abuse, neglect, abandonment, and religious trauma. So I'm coming from a place of experience, and also I'm on my own healing journey. So,
Yes.
Amen. 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 Okay, and you're also an author.
mhm.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about your book?
Sure. I don't know if you have a
I
picture
do.
of
I'm going to pull it. I'm going to put it up.
Okay.
Mhm. I got.
So I have, thank you. I am a journaling advocate, believer. I call myself the journaling queen because I honestly don't know. I don't think I would have made it to this point, even as a kid, if I didn't journal, if I
Right.
didn't know to pull out my little spiral notebook, or maybe I had a diary, but just
Mm-hmm.
pull it out and write in it. It just helped me so much just to be able to get it out. And so there's a whole science behind it. I won't go into that, but this is my first book, and it is a guided journal.
Go ahead with first.
Yes. It's
Thank you.
yes. It's a guided journal, Overflow, 100-day self-discovery journal. And
Yes,
you can pre-order it before October 28th at www.janetlynnboswell.com merch. Right?
right.
Okay.
Slash merch. Yep.
So
One in Lynn. That's a whole other story. That's a whole.
okay. Okay. And you also have a podcast yourself as well.
hmm I
If you
also
want
have
to
a YouTube podcast. It's called Journaling Revelations with Janet Lynn Boswell. I recently started. You guys are pros. I'm just on. I think I have 4 episodes now, but yeah. Thank you.
Go,
yes.
girl.
Yes.
But
Go
it's
ahead.
a combination of me teaching, coaching, sharing some revelations that God has shown me through my own journaling, and
Mm.
just sort of tying it all together.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I mine is a little bit different because I mine is a shorter. I keep it around 20 to 25 minutes. So I don't
Oh,
interview anyone on that particular podcast. Maybe in the future I'll do something different. But yeah, it's just a short
Okay.
encouragement, empowerment,
And we all need empowering.
Definitely.
We have them days, and I have been privileged to be able to um, join you on your podcast journaling sessions, and I think the next one is on the 27th of 25th October, right?
Right,
At
virtual, yeah, virtual journaling
Mhm.
sessions.
And I
Yes.
Okay.
guess we could get into that later if you want to talk about that some more later.
Well,
And next we have Arthur Craig Palmer. He
okay.
is he is multifaceted. He's an author and a motivational speaker, but we're going to let him tell us all about him. So, Arthur Palmer, can you please tell our listeners something about you? Hello, hello. Uh,
Sure. I've been an author. We're here. Hello.
yeah, can
We
you
can
hear?
hear you. Can you
Can
hear
you hear
us?
me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you now.
I can hear you.
You can hear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I've actually, I can hear you.
Oh,
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I think you're having some
You're having a
Can
connectivity.
you
loop.
hear me okay?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I think you're going in a loop.
Right now,
Okay, now you're moving.
a loop.
Okay, go ahead. We can hear you now.
Hmm. Am I moving now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. I've written several books, but my main book is called this 10-Step Pocket Employment Guide, which teaches young people and young adults and adults, frankly, in general, on how to obtain employment, how to be successful in employment, and it covers 10 components to employment. I've also written some books on sales, and I recently completed a book on online dating because I recently went back into the dating pool, unfortunately. And it's just been a journey, as life is. I also recently started a group here in Savannah called the Savannah Black Professionals Networking Group that you can
Oh.
find on Facebook and on Meetup. And that's really just kind of to effectively have people of color network because I feel like there's strength in numbers. And I feel like Black people really never share their resources. And unlike our
mm,
counterparts, they successfully share their resources. And so what ends up happening is they end up getting, like, I'll give you an example. One of the guys in the group does concrete and he does it. He lays concrete at a lesser price for members. Because, like I said, it's not about what you know. Sometimes it's about who you know.
Oh, you
And
know.
mhm.
so, we have like electricians in the group, and we have like a guy that does detailing. So, it's just good to have folks that you can call that'll do things
Okay,
relatively
y'all.
more inexpensive than our counterparts. So I don't know. I think that's my connectivity problem because I know my internet is pretty good, but um, but that's pretty much it.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for joining us. And
Can
Thank
you hear me
you.
okay?
yeah,
Yes.
we can hear you. Thank you for joining us. And I like the title. Can you hear us? You wanna maybe log out and
I can
log
hear
back
you.
in? Okay. So we gonna have to real quick. I know this
Uh,
ain't what this show about. but I just
The
gotta touch
good,
the title.
bad,
The good, the bad, and who knew their
who knew
picture was filtered.
the
them
picture?
filters, them filters get you, don't it?
Yes, it does.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
them
that's a good
filters
one.
will get you. Now, let's be honest. Men use filters
Yeah.
too. The brothers be filtering it up.
I've, I,
Especially look,
I've
huh?
never used a filter. Never.
Never, ever.
I've never used a filter. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Ever. Not even in playing. You know, like some people use that app to make yourself look all crazy and stuff like that. I've never even done that. So, and I can just tell you, there's some friends of mine who have never used filters. But to be very honest with you, it's probably more prevalent with women. And the reason why is because, listen, women use makeup. I've never worn makeup. You know what I mean? Like women can change
Well,
their
I would hope not.
hairstyles. You know, obviously they can wear. I mean, so like I just sent a picture to a friend of mine recently of a woman, a woman, right, a woman's profile. I just wanted him to see, right. In the woman's profile, she has a picture of kind of like from like the chest up, and she looks great. And then from the chest down, when you get to like her last picture, she's like really out of shape, right? And I was just explaining to him, and I'm sure she's the really nicest woman in the world, but I'm just saying like that's how women sometimes get you because instead of her just kind of kind of like because some women don't do that. She in that particular case she did, but I'm just saying like a lot of women they'll take these camera angles like from up here, right? And
You
guys
wrong.
they're like completely oblivious to it. And then you might see the woman like one woman she was in a severe car accident and she has like a mangled leg, right? And so she doesn't have a picture of that in her profile. She kind of mentions it after she meets the person. Sometimes you're better off just kind of letting someone know up front, what the deal is. And, that way, the guy can kind of make a determination, don't mislead them because it's just going to end up, you're going to see that disappointment in their face. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Okay. Well, I mean,
yeah. And so the title, there was this actually a real quick story. There was a young lady that I had met, and her profile. If you saw her profile picture, she looked like she was, maybe 35. Very attractive. And when I saw her in person, she looked like a totally different person, right? And so I sent the picture. I took a picture of her profile picture and a picture of how she looked in person. And I sent it to a friend of mine, and he was like, "Listen, why don't you call the cops now for her impersonating somebody?" Because she looked like a totally different
oh,
person, but it was really her. So, my point is, like, you're almost kind of better off, honestly, having a picture without filters, without makeup. Because I kind of feel like sometimes when you have makeup, it kind of enhances you, right?
but,
And
but
so when
wait
you
a
meet
minute.
someone and you have some makeup on, obviously they're going to look at you, they're going to be like, oh, okay.
But
Like for
you
instance, Coach
know,
Passion, I have to comment that lipstick is working. You are working that
thank you,
lipstick.
thank you, thank you.
Okay. See,
But
so something like that would be really nice in a profile.
mhm. But well, okay, but look, check this out though. You could be in the store and meet a woman
Yeah.
and she has on makeup. So it's
Mhm.
no different. It's really not a different
Mhm.
because you go in the store in person, you have women with hair weaves and eyelashes and all this, and you seeing them up front. It's not on the phone, it's
Mhm.
not, so
Mhm.
there's no filter there, but they still have
Mhm.
makeup on. Women, we do this thing, I think, where we want to be pretty, we want to be attractive, and we want to feel sexy because we want to catch
Mhm.
the man. So we do what we think. Some people are not comfortable without, wearing makeup because, like you said, it enhances your beauty. And of course, you want somebody that
Mhm.
men want, like you said, the visual. They want eye candy, right? So this there's really no difference in
Yeah,
somebody taking a picture with their angles and you meeting them in the public, the grocery store, in the mall, at a movie theater, and they are fully
it is
made
a
up.
difference.
It is?
No, it is a difference because remember, there's something called chemistry. When you meet someone organically in a supermarket, right, or movie theater or wherever, you're actually having a conversation with them face to face, and you can make an instant determination if there's some chemistry, right? And
Hmm.
women that are attractive, every woman is attractive in her own way, right?
Mhm.
So what one woman might bring to the table, another woman might not, right? Like for instance, there's
Hmm.
some women that have, great hair, right? And there's some women that have great eyes, and there's some women that have great smiles, right? So every woman is attractive in her own way. So when you meet someone organically, you're going to see right off the bat what makes her attractive. Now, what I've always said is looks might get you there, but looks can't keep you there. So even though she might be attractive initially, that initial conversation with her, you're going to be able to determine right then and there if this is something that you want to continue further. It's the same
Right.
way, believe it or not, men don't choose women. Women choose men. Now, men will determine if the relationship goes further, but men don't choose women. Women choose men, right? When a guy approaches you and he hits you with his favorite line, you know what I mean? Um, you know, like there's a million lines out there, right? But let's just say a guy approaches you in the supermarket, and when you look at him and you're not attracted to him, you're going to shoot him down in 2 seconds. Whether you say, I'm married, I got a boyfriend, I'm not dating right now, whatever you tell him, right? And you just shoot him down and nothing ever comes of it. Now, if he approaches you and you kind of look at him and find him remotely attractive, then you'll be like, yo, here's my phone number, or write it down, or whatever. And then you guys will go out. But men don't choose women, women choose men, right?
Okay. All right. Well, we're
And
gonna have to
so,
do a whole show surrounding the
Mhm.
good, the bad, and the bet you didn't know that was a filter on.
Her picture
yeah,
was
I will
Her
definitely be
filter.
back.
Okay, okay. Um, so life after 50, right? So, you know what that song R. Kelly? No, that was Aaliyah and R. Kelly. Age ain't nothing but a number, right? I'm not gonna keep doing that, y'all, because I can't sing. But we want to get into life after 50, navigating the intricacies of love, um, intimacy, relationships after 50. Let's talk about some of the stereotypes that we've grown up with, that we've come to know, um, that come along with age. But Dr. Sean, would you like to ask a question before I continue, or?
I actually would like to make some comments.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So, as we're talking about this topic, I'm so excited that we're talking about this topic because I think everyone on this line, we're in the age range of the life after 50.
Mhm.
So, I think even as we begin to talk, we'll be able to see how everybody is at a different stage in their process as we're going through life after 50. So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important that when people are reaching their different milestones, age milestones, that they're not comparing themselves to others, because that's many times which gets you into that
Mhm.
emotional, those emotional situations where you're not happy and content with yourself because you're looking at other people's life. And again, remember, it is not as green as we think it is in somebody else's yard. We assume that. So I think we all need to just appreciate life and begin to talk about though and realize realistically we all probably had some challenges as we began to age. And what does that look like?
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm gonna do late. Coach Janet, I'm gonna pick with you first, right? Because actually, I want to give credit where credit is due because we're having this show because Coach Janet shared some things with us on the last show, and hopefully she'll feel free to share with
Yes.
us because she's also doing a behind the scenes and up to the moment. I'm not gonna tell your business, girl. I'm not gonna tell your
Go
business. That's
ahead.
gonna be for
You
you.
already telling her
I'm
business.
not gonna tell her
What?
business. But I it was she's the reason that we're having this show. So thank you because it was a good topic and
Mhm.
um it's something that a lot of people don't really discuss. Uh,
Mhm.
so have you personally confronted, and conquered the fear of growing old? That's my question to you.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That-
that's a deep one.
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I'm in the process.
Okay.
And as you say, I'm chronicling my process because I will be turning 60 in a little over a
And
month.
looking awesome.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank
Beautiful.
you. And this is no makeup. I got on a little bit of I got a little bit of highlighter around my eyes and some
I
lipstick.
do too.
That's
I have
it.
some highlighter right here.
Yeah, I got some shiny. That's it. That's it. I don't take the
I got
time to
some right
put
here
on
too. I ain't gonna
makeup.
lie. I got some
So
right here too.
that's just
No filters.
no filters. No filters. Just my
Well, I got
light.
a little light. I got some light now. I
And
got
I
some
got
light.
my light only because it's nighttime and I can't use the natural light. Let me just say that. And so these other lights can have you looking crazy. But so yeah, I am going to be premiering on November 30th. I'm going to be premiering that process on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Janet Lynn Boswell. Because yes, aging has caught me by surprise. And I think the biggest reason, or one of the biggest reasons for me, is because right around 50 was when perimenopause set in.
Hmm.
So you were reading a letter about men in midlife, and I was thinking of women in menopause.
Yes.
And I didn't expect the changes that started happening with my body. It was just I don't think maybe we don't talk about it enough. I don't know. But I thought something was wrong. So I went to the doctor because I was gaining weight and gaining it in places that I've never had it before. And I want to say, for a woman, that can be very traumatic and make you feel very insecure, especially when you all of a sudden your body type is changing or you have
Mhm.
weight in places you didn't have it before. So I went to the
Oh, God. Now that's the problem right there.
isn't it? And it's so crazy because you don't expect it. You don't expect rolls in the middle where you used to always have a waist and a flat tummy. You
What?
just don't expect these things. And I was working out. I did all the things that I used to do when I would gain weight: work out, eat better, drink plenty of water, and nothing. All the usual things. Now all of a
Didn't
sudden
work.
they don't work, and
Mhm.
no one tells you this because it's hormonal changes in your body. And so I went to the doctor and I'm like, I'm having these issues in this way where I've never had it before and I don't know what's happening and I'm working out and blah, blah. And I went to a female doctor thinking, okay, she'll understand and she can at least say, well, you need to step up your routine or whatever. And she just kind of said, oh yeah, well, yeah, it's hard. And that was all she offered.
You
Meanwhile,
know,
and meanwhile, she was thin and bopping around, and I thought, you just made me feel worse. You really just made me feel worse. So yeah, that really was where it started for me. And then it was the other thing that you said, Sean, which was that you, when you get to a certain age, and now that I'm about to turn 60, I realize that I, more than likely, I have more years behind me than in front of me. And that is a sobering reality,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and
Correct.
it's something I never really uh, spent too much time thinking about. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid of death because I mean, I believe, me and God, we cool like that. Um, but it's just what you said. Have I don't have time to waste. I must be about my Father's business.
Mm,
I must complete the work for which He created me, designed
Yes.
me, and created me. So those are the things that I'm sharing and talking about in this documentary, I don't know what you would call it, that I'm talking about. And also, with the I shared in the last time I was on with the female pattern baldness, and how my hair is starting to grow back now after many years, but how, so on the other side of the coin, I'm feeling more confident in myself. On the other side, the older you get, the less you kind of care. But I will say, I feel like I'm only here because of the internal work that I've done. Because we all know people who are 60, 70, 80, and they're still stuck in their teens,
mm,
because so chronological age does not necessarily mean maturity.
Definitely not.
definitely. Those are people those are the ones that I'm been like this all my life. They just stuck. They
Yes,
So,
stuck. They don't embrace a growth mindset, so they can't change. They can't change with the times. They don't want to change with the time. Um,
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
So I feel like, for me, growing old gracefully not only means being in good physical health and, looking my best, the best that I can, you know, in the package that God gave me, but also doing my internal work so I can grow gracefully and be a graceful person.
mhm.
Just like you said, have a growth mindset and just mature as a person. So all of that, all of
yes,
that.
yes.
And
Uh,
in that, you find the sense of peace. And so I remember, like, the letter came in about the midlife crisis, and the age for that, actually is, and I should have said this to her,
like
the age
45.
for midlife crisis is from 40 to 60. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, he's 53. He's still in that age range of still trying to figure it out. And
Yeah.
so when you're at peace, that inner turmoil that you're having, because you're just trying to figure out where does life go from here,
Yes.
um, you really would be able to just take it one day at a time and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy your process. But
Yeah.
when you get to a certain place that you're not satisfied with you, then
Mm.
you're not. You're just trying to do this and do this and do this and do this to create a change that's not a natural flowing change, and it's not successful. So then you feel like a failure even more.
Mm.
Absolutely. So true. So true.
Mr. Arthur Palmer, what about you? But wait a minute. First, let us get up in your business. And how old are you, sir? You got to be over 50 because you're on the show.
Yes, I'm over. But usually when people ask me my age, what I usually tell them is that I'm old enough to drive. Um,
Mm.
I don't usually tell people my age. And the
Okay.
reason why I don't tell people my age is because it's a mindset. I really
Mm,
honestly believe you're as old as you feel mentally. You know what I mean?
mm,
So that's why I don't harp on my age. That's why I rarely tell people my age. And the funny story is my boss, who, or my big boss, should I say, me and him are the same age, but he thinks I'm 35. He's like,
mm,
man, you young guys don't know nothing about this good music. And I'm thinking to myself, me and you are the same age. You don't even know we're the same age. And that's because, white people age differently than people of color a lot of
mhm.
times. And
That's right.
so he's clueless. He don't, I mean, because even though, he hired me, he never saw my paperwork or nothing like that. So as far as he's concerned, I'm like 37, maybe 40, you know, and he's like in his 50s. So I'm like, sure, let him believe that. But one of the things about men growing older, in their 50s, is to me the way you kind of come to grips with getting older is understanding, kind of like what the young lady just said, is your body reacts differently. So, like, just give you an example, I had twisted my ankle, and what normally might have taken, let's say, a few days or a week, took a month to heal, right? And that reminded me, like, yo, you're just not as young as you used to be. So things, that seems, so simple in the past is not that simple. Like, you have to take greater care of yourself, whether it's, eating right. And just to take it a step further, a friend of mine that I grew up with passed away about a week and a half ago, right? And what really kind of hit me was that me and him were the same age,
Mhm.
right?
Mm,
And when I went to see
mhm,
him at the hospice, because he was at a hospice because he was suffering from cancer, he looked like he was 100.
mm,
Oh,
Like, he was under 100 pounds, and the nurse had to tell me that's him. When I looked at him, he didn't even look like himself. Like, he looked like he was 80, right? And
mm.
that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I'm like, man, me and you are the same age, and he looks like he's 100. And what's so crazy is last year at the same exact time, me and him were talking, because I used to be a real estate agent. So he was calling me about some real estate advice, and he was asking me some great places to possibly invest in purchasing real estate. And a year later, he's dead. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, he's gone. And he used to be an EMT, so he dedicated his life to saving people's lives. And when it came down to it, you know what? He kind of essentially died alone. No girlfriend, no wife, and essentially alone. So that's when it kind of hits you. That you realize your mortality. And like Coach said, we have a lot more years behind us than ahead of us. So,
Mm.
we have to kind of embrace life, and hopefully, find a partner that you really like and care for, and hopefully love, and enjoy every minute. You know what I mean? Because you're not promised tomorrow.
That's right.
There's so many instances in the news where you see people. Give you an example. One family, they're driving home from a party, and a drunk driver,
yeah.
driving on the
Yes, that was
wrong
so
side of the
sad.
road, runs into the car and kills both. Those people in the car, they're minding their business. They're expecting to be here tomorrow, and because
Mm,
someone, drove up the wrong road, kills all of them in the car. You know what I mean? So that happens. So you have to embrace every day. You know what I mean? So if there were things that you want to do, don't wait. Like,
that's
do
right.
them. Write down. If you want to, like, I'm going to Paris next year. I
Mm.
don't know when. I ain't booked no ticket yet, but I can assure you, sometime next year, I'm going to be in Paris. Right?
Mhm.
Because,
Is
like
this
I
a
said,
group
you're not
trip?
promised tomorrow.
Is this
Yes,
gonna
feel
be a
free to
group
come.
trip? Okay. Um, Coach, I mean, Dr. Sean, you have anything to say before I say something?
No, you go ahead. I'm
Okay,
thinking.
you soaking it all in beautiful. Okay, so thank you both for sharing because growing old or becoming older is scary. I've had the opposite reaction. Um, Many people know that I have lupus, which is a chronic illness,
Mm,
right? So, and I was diagnosed with lupus in my late 30s to early 40s. So for me, um, growing older and reaching new age every year for me is like, whew, because
Yeah.
my fear
mm,
was not being here to
mm.
watch my children grow, to see my grandkids. Because even right after I was diagnosed, I put the press on my daughter. I was like, I need a grandbaby. I need a grandbaby. You gotta give me a grandbaby. Oh, sorry, y'all. That's my alarm. But that's what I did. But
It was
and
perfect timing.
it was. Oh Lord, yes. So I kind of I understand it, right? But it's a different effect on me because, like Craig said, every day is not promised. When
Mhm.
you suffer from a chronic illness, you could be good one day, and the next day you could be,
Mhm.
not good. So I'm going to assume, and sorry for your loss, that your friend had some type of a chronic illness, or he was suffering from something that made his health deteriorate rather
Well, he had
quickly.
brain cancer.
He's cancer.
Yes,
He had
yeah,
brain cancer.
yeah.
Mm.
So the opposite. But I do feel like I also agree with you about age is a mindset. Because I remember back in the day that song, I'm
Mhm.
a Toys R Us kid. What is it? I don't want to grow up because I'm a Toys R Us kid. That's me. I'm a big kid um, all day, every day until I try to get out and do some stuff with my kids. Like a couple of months ago, or maybe a year ago, they had this good knee challenge on TikTok. Good knees, right? I'm in the household. They got their hands up, doing the good knees. And I'm like, I could do that. They was like, Mom, please, you can barely walk sometimes. I said, watch, turn it on. They turned the music on. I was in the kitchen. The good knees, put your hands up. Man, let me tell y'all.
They tried to warn you.
They did. My body said, sweetheart, not with these knees.
Yeah.
And so,
You must have tried it.
but but when you talk about growing older, and as Craig was saying, certain things in your body just it takes longer to heal, or it just
Yeah.
doesn't work the same and all.
Yeah.
So, I had fun, for so many years. Nisi, when people used to ask me what my grades were, I mean,
Hmm.
my age was, I would say, for a long time, I was 25 and holding. Then one of my daughters said, Mom, I'm catching up with you. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be 35 and holding. So I was 35 and holding, and I was just holding. But so one day my youngest daughter, who is now 18, so who's going to talk about the exact age that you are, but my youngest daughter turned 18 on the 22nd of September. But when she was just becoming a cheerleader, she was like, Mama, they want me to do all these jumps. Well, see, I was a cheerleader, right? And as Coach Janet said, your body, you gain weight in certain places and all this. But I didn't let that stop me because she said, Mama, I need to learn these jumps. I said, Girl, I know how to do those jumps. I said, come on outside. Let's go. We were in the front yard. Let's go outside. Let's do these jumps. And so she said, Mama, you really know how to do this jump? I said, Yes. So I got up, but I don't know when I came down. But I know I came down before my legs even went into any kind of direction or anything. I was on the ground. So, so I said, And
Mm.
she was on the ground laughing, saying she should have been recording. And I just realized that at a certain age, gravity also takes your body differently.
Mhm.
Because at that time, I just was like, okay, baby, I don't know how to do these jumps anymore. I can't even get my feet in the before I'm on the ground. But it's okay. It's okay. You know, mama can enroll you in some classes, some gymnastics classes. Teach you these jumps because she can't do it. But that was like a shock to me, like a reality, like, boom,
Yes.
you on the ground,
Yep.
girl.
Yep.
It was just, I don't know. But but I realized I can't do jumps anymore. I can do splits though,
Oh,
but
you can still do a
What?
I
split?
can
Girl,
still
that's
do
good. I
split.
can't do them
Let me see. Do
anymore.
one
I
right
can
now.
still do
Do
a
one right
split,
now.
but
We want to see.
don't worry. You really want me to try to put my legs across the camera? Yeah.
No, turn the camera. You know how Craig said to do the angle and get this.
Ah.
That'll be another show. That'll
We're
be
going to see
another
how
show.
good your knees is trying
Ooh.
to get into a split.
Oh no, I can do a split. I might can't get up out the split, but I can get down.
Well, that's half the battle right there. I can't even do that anymore.
Yeah, I can get all the way down, but
Oh,
we
okay.
not we not able to get up without assistance.
Uh, okay.
But
Well,
let me say this, if I can piggyback off of something that Craig said, this up until very recently, I would never have shared my age. I would never have shared up until if you would have asked me this a few months ago, I would not have shared my age. So for me, going through this process and being able to admit that I am struggling and having challenges has actually helped me to get to the place to be able to embrace it and be able to say, yes, this is I just don't want to look. I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to be 60 and look 80 or 90 or
mhm,
100. You know what I mean? I don't want to look older to make,
mhm.
I don't want to look 30. I don't want to look, 40 like I did when I was so, but I don't want to look older than to. So I think but yeah, it's been very, very recent that I would share and to share on social media when we had that conversation a month ago, or I believe that was the first time I ever did that. So,
Oh, really? So you
mhm,
know what? It
Wow.
was meant. It
mhm,
was, it was meant to happen because, you are beautiful. And
Yes.
I understand the psychological aspect of it,
yeah,
coming to
Hmm.
grips and coming to terms with it.
yeah,
And we love you. And anytime you need to talk, and all you got to do is pick up the phone and call,
yep,
right?
and I will. But I think that's the main thing for me is we oftentimes we're really trying to be helpful to people, but I feel like we make them feel like it's not okay to
Hmm.
not be okay with it. That's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to help them see what we see.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, instead of, but I think in my son, this was a different situation, but he kind of called me on this recently because he's struggling with something, and I was trying to show all the positive aspects of it because this is what I see, and he just kind of said, "Mom, but you're not going through this. You don't understand."
Right.
Mhm.
And I said, you are absolutely right. And he said it. He said, we all do it. He said, I do it too. But it kind of got me to thinking like, okay, we have to allow people to have their feelings and have their process.
Yes.
Because we don't want to inadvertently make people feel like, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Well, you can't, it's kind of pointless to tell people they shouldn't feel a way that they already feel.
Right. Right.
That's
That
their
is true.
reality.
It's
Because
their
you're
reality.
reality, and you're entitled to that feeling. But
Yeah.
you could just rest assured. I think, don't get me wrong, because I don't know. I think it's a scripture. Y'all can help me out in Corinthians. Uh, Something about not losing heart, because although we are wasting away outwardly, we're being renewed internally day by
Mhm.
day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so
I'm
I
trying to find it.
it's I don't know.
But that's the gist of it.
That's
Yes.
the gist
Yes,
of
that
it.
is the
Yeah,
gist of it. I just don't know the exact scripture.
right.
Yeah.
So and
Hmm.
I guess in God's infinite wisdom, because He's omnipresent, and He was trying to let us know that although we may grow old and our bodies may start to do weird, funky things, it's okay
Yeah.
because we're still being renewed, you
Yeah.
know, every day.
Yeah.
So I think I got it right.
No, that's it. That's it. But I think that that renewal is not automatic. We have to be in his presence,
A-
and
Amen.
yeah,
Amen.
the renewal comes from being in his
And
presence.
standing in His faith, leaning
Right.
on His faith and His
Mhm.
promises. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's so interesting that we just all have different perspectives, and it I love it. I just love because everybody is kind of coming from a different place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. Can we get in another question? Tell you, I'm sorry, Dr. Sean. Do you
I'm
have a
fine.
question? Huh?
Well, I wanted to know. We're all talking, and like we said, we're all at different stages. So I wanted to know when you first, or did you ever get to the point where aging was a problem for you, and if so, what emotional turmoil or what issue was drove you to trying to figure out should I become what should I do? I'm aging. So I kind of want to know what
Mhm.
let you know that you were in that stage of trying to figure out, wow, I'm aging. And what emotions did you feel when you really said, hey, I'm aging?
For me, I think it was that was when I finally realized um it's time for me to do something different. And what I mean by that is professionally, because for decades I was in the nonprofit sector as a director and a administrator. Um, but in my heart, I knew I was an entrepreneur, but I didn't want to lose that paycheck, that
Right.
steady paycheck,
Say, what? Come on
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Tell me.
yes, I know you
Oh,
understand.
Lord.
Thankfully, my husband and I both got to the place at the same time where we felt like, okay, now is the time for you to make that move. And he was able to say, I'm going to support you in this. I'm able to support you in this. Because you're used to having a two income household, and so I think that was really the catalyst for me is, okay, I'm not getting any younger. And it became working for someone else became harder and harder and harder for me to do. um and so I just felt peace about, now that God was saying now is the time.
Mm, that's right. Now was
Yeah.
the time.
There are two things
What
that
about you, Greg?
um, have really made me realize that I'm aging. The first thing is as a recruiter, I work with people in jobs. And unfortunately, I deal with clients that are in their 50s and are trying to seek employment. And there's nothing more challenging than trying to find someone a job that's in their 50s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because employers don't want to pay folks in their 50s, right? Because someone in their 50s is going to require a certain amount of money. They've made a certain amount of money in their lifetime.
Yep.
So when you offer someone who's 50, $32,000, they're looking at you like, I made 32,000 10 years ago. Right? So they're not really trying to make, they're trying to, get their top dollar. And
Mm-hmm.
so it becomes more challenging because employers, and I'm telling you guys this and your listeners, but employers are not going to tell you this, but the reality is that employers don't want to hire someone in their 50s. Why? Because someone in their 50s is going to be out sick more, right? They're going to have more health issues, right? So there are a lot of things that come with someone who is in their 50s as opposed to someone who's in their 20s and 30s, right? So that's that's one thing that it kind of made me realize because obviously in my 50s and I have to help place people that are in their 50s and it becomes pretty challenging. So you kind of almost kind of look at it and you're like, you're kind of almost looking at it like, man, I have to kind of prepare because at some point we're all going to be retired. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, we have less years ahead of us than behind us. So now you start thinking about, okay, 10, 15 years from now, let me put myself in a good position because, you want your retirement years to go smoothly. So
That's
you
Mm-hmm.
right.
start
Yes.
thinking about life insurance. You start thinking about your,
Mm-hmm.
your 401k plan. You start thinking about, investments and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. So that way, when you
Mm-hmm.
get to retirement age, you ain't struggling. Because I
That's
hope to
right.
never see any of us in here working at Walmart at 60, right? It's nothing more
Right.
painful to see people who should be retired and relaxing and enjoying their lives, but they have to go work someplace that they don't want to because they didn't prepare
Right.
for retirement effectively, right?
Right.
So that's
Right.
the first thing. The second thing, honestly, would be my kids because I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. And so when you have young kids, you start thinking about, okay, I have to prepare them to be okay. God forbid I'm not here, 15, 20 years from
Right.
now,
Right.
because we don't know when our time is going to come. You know what I
That's
Mm-hmm.
mean?
right.
So, like Dr. Sean said, she has an 18-year-old, right? 18, you said your daughter is, right? And
Yes.
so, you know, she has to put her daughter in a good position. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So, to be successful. So we start thinking about those things, all right? Not just yourself, but how do I, put my kids in a position to be successful? Whether
Come
it's
on.
setting aside money for their college education, whether it's, making certain that they go to the best school, things like that, so that they exceed what we've accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two things that kind of, woke me up to the process of getting a little older. Working with people my same age, and also looking at my kids and realizing I want them to have a much better, life or than I had at their age. So I exposed them to things that I didn't have. They have tutoring. I didn't have no tutor when I was a kid. Man, if I didn't know how to do my homework, guess what? It didn't get done until I got to school the next day and asked the
Mm-hmm.
teacher how to do it. Now
Mm-hmm. That
they can go
part.
to the tutor, and the tutor, she explains how to do the homework. She tells them how, to do things and stuff like that. I don't have that. I didn't have access to that. They can, if they don't know about something, all they got to do is type it into Google, and Google gives you the answer. I had to open up a damn encyclopedia that was
Yes.
like this, and I had to go through like 400 pages just to find an answer to something.
Ooh. And don't have to
Wasn't
go to the library and have to go through the Dewey Decimal System. Them kids don't
Oh,
know
right?
nothing about looking through a Dewey Decimal System. Oh my
Exactly.
goodness.
So, so it's just a different
No
age.
kind of thing.
Technology has made things much easier for them. So those are the things that kind of wake you up to how things are different now.
Mm,
Hmm.
okay. Well, what
Well, I
about,
also
well,
think that when go ahead.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, so when I thought about, how did I feel when I realized I started that I was aging? I thought about when you talked about the loss of your friends. I realized that the older I became, the more death mattered. So, when
Mm-hmm.
you're younger, people go to funerals and you could care less. You'd be like, I don't want to go to no funeral, no funeral. And as I became older, as people were in my age group, I found myself like this push that I need to go to that funeral, and I would go. And then that made me realize, hey, you know what? I'm losing people of my same age. So what
Mm-hmm.
do I need to do, as Craig was saying, to prepare for life for my children? But not only that, what do I need to do to examine myself to make sure that I'm in health, I'm in good health? So that's when I really started trying to make sure that I was eating better, things that I took for granted, because oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
I was a sweet head. Love sweets, love sweet. It didn't catch up to me until my older life, all the sweets and all that I love to eat. But but now I have to say, wait a minute, you can't eat all those sweets. You can't eat all that fried chicken that you love. You can't do that. What about your cholesterol numbers? I mean, things that I was like, who cares? But now we have to be mindful of those things. And then also when earlier Craig talked about loneliness. So, when you're single and you're getting old, you start saying, who am I going to share the rest of my life with? My daughter's getting ready to leave the house, and so I even started evaluating that as getting ready to soon have someone going off to college. And
Mm-hmm.
now, I'll be in a house by myself, and I'm like, do I need to get two dogs? What do I need to do to really feel fulfilled in this stage of being older, and my child now also growing up and becoming a young adult. So I think that it's so many things, but to me, that's what really started impacting me, was just seeing my friends or people that I went to school with dying, and then also just watching my child grow up and become my last child become an adult. I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
what? Who's that? And I make a joke all the time, like, somebody's getting old, but it's not me. But in
That's
reality, it
right.
really is, because if she's older, you're older. You know what I mean? We can play with it, but so I think that was really kind of just her birthday. I found myself like, wow, do I want to celebrate her 18th birthday? And then I was like, okay, let's celebrate it. But yeah, so that was like real to me when she turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. It
Yeah.
hits home. Wait till she goes off to college. Um,
Just
I
wait.
didn't I
Oh,
didn't feel like an empty nester until my baby went off to college because when my older two children went away, I still had one at home. So it really was
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm not an empty nester yet. So because I still had, and she's still with me to this day, y'all. But I didn't feel it. But when she went away to college for a minute, that's when I was like, Then I felt that sense of what now?
Mhm.
And like you said, being lonely, which Craig mentioned, but that gets us into, I think it's going to be our last and final question because we kind of like overtime. But dating after 50,
Oh,
Coach Janet, you're blessed because you're married, right?
right. But I
And
got married at 50. I got remarried at 50.
oh, okay,
Hmm.
okay. So,
oh,
so there is love
there's hope.
after.
There's
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me let me say I did my work so that I would be able to recognize and attract a man who was not a carbon copy of the previous man. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We
Mhm.
keep
Yes,
connecting with the
yes.
same person with a different face and a different name.
Right.
So I did my work so that but
Been there,
I
done that.
and I was in tune to God because I'll tell you why, and then I'll keep it brief. My husband is actually 9.5 years younger than me.
Mm.
Yeah. So had God,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So he just turned 50. So had God not given me, I think I told y'all before about 10 signs because I kept asking him for a sign. Had he not
Uh-huh,
done
uh-huh.
that, I
Mhm.
wouldn't have even been open. I wouldn't have even been open to him. So I'm saying all that to say they may not come in the package that you think. Because I had all these daddy issues, so I thought I would end up with an older man who could kind of be, I guess, I don't know, surrogate dad. I don't know. But
Uh-huh.
you don't know who God has for you. And even though he's younger than me, he's nurturing and mature and supportive, loves my kids, all of that. So there is hope. Do your work, stay in tune to the Holy Spirit and just be open.
Mm-hmm.
Just be open because God knows better than we do.
Right. Right. So, had you been like
I believe that.
dating, actively dating, or were you
No.
just?
Listen, I said I'm never getting married again. And my thing was, I'm going to raise these two kids of mine
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to work on myself. I want, and I said, Jesus, I'm going to be married to you.
That's
It's
right.
just me and you. That's it. I don't need
Hey.
nobody. And he was like, mm-hmm, yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
right.
And hey, look, I always tell people when I'm like, look, I'm not gonna get married or start dating until three wise men knock on my door and say,
Yeah.
"Baby, this is him. This is him." The three
She
wise
says
men
that
have to knock
all
on my door.
the time.
I know.
So therefore
No.
you'll be alone.
Listen, but but God
It
has a
won't be
way
a
though.
reenactment of the
Yeah,
wise men knocking on the door.
look, he'll have you have see it in a dream. You'll have a dream about it. See, God got a way. I'm
That's
telling
Okay,
you,
true.
he
That
got a
is
way.
true.
he
Because
does.
That is
I literally asked for at least 10 signs, and every time he gave me the sign that I asked for. And after about 10, he said, okay, that's
I'm
enough.
done. Okay.
You just gotta trust me. You just gotta trust
Right.
me on this.
So
Um,
how does the age thing work? That's a you was a cougar. You was
I
being a
guess
cougar.
so.
Cougar, she's definitely a cougar,
So
but it's okay.
Yes, a cougar. You was being a
and let me tell you, I used to be so ashamed of that. And
cougar.
back then, I never would have been because people used to make that joke all the time, and I would be so embarrassed. But now I'm like, yep, mm-hmm, and
You
happy
should.
about it. But
Okay.
but even that, before we went on our first date, because I wasn't looking at him like that because I thought I knew he was younger than me, and before we went on our first date, God showed me in a dream us going on a date.
Oh,
Everything that happened, he showed me, and
Mm.
it happened exactly the way he showed me. So that's how I knew to say yes. And so I asked him during the date, I said, how old are you anyway? And when he told me, I just looked and said, I don't know what's happening
Mm.
here, but I trusted God. I just trusted him. Now I trusted him. What what is it? Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yes,
one of
that's
those
it now.
situations. Mm-hmm. And God just walked me through the process. And my husband was very patient with me through the process because God told us both at the same time. And that's a whole nother story. I'm gonna write a book about this, but he told us both at the same time. So he was very stable in what he knew God had said. I was the one that was wavering, and it was mainly because I had been married before and it was traumatizing, and because of the age difference.
Okay.
So just stay open to God, because I never saw it coming.
Okay.
I never saw
Whew.
it coming.
Well, there's hope. I won't give up. I won't give up hope, but I don't know because Craig, we're gonna get to you because you definitely have to answer this question for us because you done wrote the dating the online dating
Book.
handbook, so you got to answer this question, sir. But I try to stay away from tabloids, right? But every now and again, um, things pop up on your computer, like while I'm working every stuff. So it's like all of these people who I held in high regards that, oh, if I get in a relationship, I want this kind of love. I want that kind of love. Like Tiana Taylor and her husband Iman, they're separated. And you got Remy Ma and Papoose. There's some rumors about them being she cheated on him, and Lord, like I said,
I
it's
got
all
you.
rumors.
Run
It's
ahead.
okay, not I'm just repeating what what's out there in the rumor mill. But I'm thinking if these people who were the epitome of black love, right, are now breaking down and they're separating and all of that other stuff, it's like wow, there's really no is does love really exist anymore? Craig.
Well, let me just kind of let me answer that for a second. First of all, Tiana Taylor and Iman Shumpert, I think his name is, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not the epitome of love, right?
Oh,
The epitome would be Denzel and his wife. You know what I
oh,
mean?
okay.
The epitome would be LL Cool J and his wife.
And
You
his
know,
wife,
these folks
okay.
that have been married, 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, you got to understand something. You don't know when love is going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
It's true.
unfortunately, my wife passed away about over 3 years ago, right?
Mm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
never thought I would be in this situation again, being online, having to date. You know what I mean? But I do realize that there are great women out there. You know what I mean? You just have to put yourself in a position to meet her. You know what I mean? And so it's a process. You know what I mean? Having to get to know someone, their likes, dislikes, wants, and things like that. But
Mhm.
nevertheless, you have to be, um, you have to have that faith, right? And like Coach Janice said, sometimes you don't know when it's going to hit you. You know what I mean? So that's why sometimes you almost kind of have to not think about it because
Mhm.
when you least think about it is when it's going to happen. You're going to meet someone and you'll be like, you know what? You just never thought you would end up with that person. And out of nowhere, you're like, man, you know what? She's really great. And that's the person you end up with. So, like I said, it's a process. You know what I mean? So I'm a big advocate of online dating because I think right now it's really the way you have to go, especially because of the pandemic. You know what I mean? Like we don't go out the way we used to, right? We don't interact with people the way we used to. Like, in the old days, you could go to a club and meet someone like this. Those days are long gone. So, how are you going to meet someone? You know what I mean? You're not going to meet someone at Walmart. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to meet someone at Home Depot. You know what I mean? So, online is a great way to kind of vet some folks, find out what they're about. And then after you've kind of had an opportunity to talk to them, find out what they're about, then the key is meeting them and seeing if you have chemistry, right? Because the clock doesn't start until you actually meet the person face to face, right? You could talk to
Mm.
someone on the phone, on the face, but do you have chemistry? are you attracted to them? Right? Because I hear a lot of horror stories all the time where, women, they'll talk to a guy over the phone, right, for, say a couple of weeks. And then they finally meet the guy, and the guy's like 3 inches shorter than he claimed online. Right? And they're like, oh my God, he's so short. You know what I mean? And they're instantly not attracted to him. Right? Yeah. Or one woman told me a funny story. She was guy for like a month, right? And she thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And so she finally was like, I'm in love with him. I can't wait to see him, all this kind of stuff, right? I'm like, okay. And when she finally met him, he had a prosthetic leg, right? And so all of this love that she supposedly had went out the window the moment she saw his prosthetic leg, right?
That's
And
sad.
so she says to him, why didn't you tell me you had a prosthetic leg while we were talking? And he's like, well, does it matter? Right?
She
Of
said,
course
yeah.
it matters, right? Like these are things that you have to tell folks, right? Like you have to tell them if you have young kids. You know what I mean? Like you have to tell them sometimes. But keep in mind, these are some things that guys don't ask, right? And that's why I
Mhm.
mentioned this in my book for guys that, will read my book. Listen, there are questions you need to ask women, right? Like, give me an example. No guy, most guys are not going to ask a woman, has she been in therapy, right? But I do. And you'd be surprised the answer. Yeah, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Yeah, I would. You're like, huh? Right? Like, these things you need to know. But guys, sometimes we're not concerned with what's underneath. We're concerned with what's on top. You know what I mean? We're concerned with how good she looks, her body, that type of thing. But we're not concerned with up here. You know what I mean? Like, can she hold a conversation? Is she a people person? How will she react around my family members? Or my kids? You know what I mean? Like these are things where women do think about stuff like that. They do think about how guys interact with their family and their kids, but guys don't. You know what I mean? So that's why I put things in my book to kind of let guys know like these are questions you should be asking women. Do you have an illness? Right? Like we don't guys like we never ask women if they have illnesses, right? Right? But then you ask her, well, do you have any chronic illnesses that I should know about, right? And then you find, women have migraines, right? They have, what's the fibroids, right? So they might be mood swings, right? Like there are a lot of things that guys we don't ask that you should know about. You know what I mean? But because we're so kind of enamored with the surface, we don't look underneath. And these things can be issues down the road, right? Like one time I met a young lady who I thought was fabulous. But then I find out when we went away that she has sickle cell. And so what ended up happening was this is a real quick story. We went away to Mexico, right? I met her online. This is many years ago. Um, and we went away. I took her to Mexico, and we get there, and because it was like 90 degrees in Mexico, the heat was bothering her, right?
Mhm.
Because she had sickle cell. So she was like, "Oh, I got to get out of the heat." Okay, so we went to the hotel room, but when you turn on the AC, it's too cold, so the cold
Mhm.
bothered her. So she ended up getting in a crisis while we were there, and didn't
Mm.
leave the room essentially the whole time we were there. Now, I didn't ask her if she had any illnesses before we went away or while we were dating. And so I ended up learning a valuable lesson. Ask these questions. Do you have any illnesses I should be aware of? Are you in therapy? Are you in recovery for anything? You know what I mean? Like, what was your last relationship? How did it end? How are you perceived? Like these are things that you have to know. Right. So, so it can be challenging, but nevertheless, Coach Janet has let us know that there is a chance for all of us.
Yes, there's hope. I look. I've dated online before, but I don't anymore. My last online date was like, that's it. I'm done. I throw in a towel. I would rather take my chances. I'm sorry, and maybe accidentally meet somebody at the gas station or at
Hmm.
in
He did
Walmart
not have
or or maybe going out to a concert or something. You might just bump into somebody, and in chemistry I have to debate with you, because you can talk to somebody on the phone day in, day out, morning, afternoon, night, deep conversations, and you build an emotional bond, right? It's a mental thing, it's an
Mhm.
emotional bond. When you're dating online and you're talking to this person every day, every night, right? And you get used to that. You start sharing things,
Mhm.
and then sometimes it allows you to become even more vulnerable because there's this false thing there, right? I don't know what to call it, but you sitting on this phone and now you're confiding in this person because you've gotten used to talking to this good mornings, calling through the how's your day at work, well at night y'all on FaceTime watching movies together. So there becomes this emotional connection between the two. So even when you meet that person, there might not be no chemistry there, right? But there has already been a bond that has been built. And so you might be like, I don't know, but then you feel like, okay, if I stop talking to him or her, who I'm gonna talk to now? Because you've gotten we're habitual, right? So you've gotten into this habit of these calls and these text messages coming through. So now you're faced with, do I overlook and try to make it do what it do because there's this connection, or do I walk away?
Well,
I think
I
that's
have a
more of
great
a
answer
woman.
for you. And you
I
know
think
what
Hmm?
that is?
women to be able to
I'm sorry.
get
I just wanted to say you just have a friend.
emotionally.
Huh? Wait a
All,
minute.
all
Go.
you've done, all you've done is created a friend. I mean, you got to understand something. Not every relationship that you get into is going to necessarily lead to something romantic. So that
Mhm.
emotional attachment that you mentioned is a friend. It doesn't necessarily mean he has to be your love interest. You can still say good morning, right? You could still say, hey, how you doing? Y'all can still have long conversations. It just doesn't mean that it has to lead to something romantic, right? Because
Now, come on.
you do have to have chemistry.
But let's keep it real, right? If you meet somebody with the intentions of dating them and maybe building a life with them, and then you meet them and they're not what you want, you're not going to continue to talk to them every day, all day long.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, that's really there are women that I know that we initially started potentially being romantic interests, and it never evolved to that. Maybe because we weren't attracted to each other on a romantic level. But there are people out there that have a great heart, have a great mind, and have a great soul that you want to keep in your life and that you're going to continue to be in contact with. Now, whether you talk to them every day, that's really up to you. You know what I mean? But it doesn't necessarily always have to be romantic. You know what I mean? So you can still talk to that guy every day. I have women that I talk to often, and I'll never be involved with them romantically, right? But we're still
Also,
good friends, and I can pick up the phone and say, hey, yo, I need a help with something, and they'll help me out, and I'll help them out. But we don't have to be involved romantically. So yeah, you can have that.
Okay.
and also, I would say that because a person can be attractive on the outside and ugly on the inside. So, but also, a person who's beautiful on the inside can start looking real good on the outside. So we have to look below the surface. I mean,
Mm-hmm. You have to.
but I think Dr.
Yeah.
Sean, you probably were getting ready to say this. I think I agree. Women do that. I think more than men, where we just all of a sudden our emotions just get all wrapped up in it, and he's not even looking at it like that. And I think, and Craig, you let me know what you think about this, but I think that women, we don't make women men work hard enough
We
to,
don't.
before we just start pouring out our hearts, and that person is maybe not even worthy of us sharing that information. So maybe we need to focus more on building friendships with people, and then it can evolve maybe into something else instead of seeing everybody as a potential mate.
I would
You are
completely
absolutely
and
right.
totally agree. And I'll even take it a step further because I had went on a date with someone not too long ago, and after one date, she was like, "Are we in a relationship? Is this going to lead to us being, boyfriend and girlfriend?" I'm like, "Yo, we just was on one date." You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like automatically, she's like thinking long term. And I said to her, "Listen, you need to relax. You need to like see how it evolves." You know what I mean? I think sometimes because listen, women are more emotional creatures. There's a reason for that. And guys, we're just, our emotions do get involved, but sometimes they take a little bit more time to get intertwined, right? And
mhm,
so sometimes women have to understand, like, play it cool, right? And
mhm,
don't get,
Mhm.
even if your emotions are intertwined, relax, because
mhm,
what's going to happen is eventually he's going to notice like, yo, you're amazing and I want to spend the rest of my life with you. But if you
mm.
start acting like that after a week, you're going to have problems, because what's going
Yep.
to
Oh,
happen is he's going to push you away, and you don't want him pushing you away. You want to have him pulling you closer. So the
mm-hmm.
more distance you give someone, the more they want you near them. The more you
Mm.
crowd them, the more they start pushing you away because they feel claustrophobic and can't breathe. So, you have to give a guy space. You know what I mean? Even if you really, really like him, you know what I mean? You got to be subtle about it. It's okay to say I
Mm.
like you, but not to be like, I could see us having kids. I could see us having a house with a picket fence. And it's like, okay, like it's been a week, right? Like give it some time.
Wait a
And,
minute. Did
like
you
you
think
said,
Fatal Attraction? Did you think Fatal Attraction when
yeah.
she started that? Come
You
home
see,
and
but
see a
fatal
rabbit on the
attraction,
stove.
yeah. You
I'm
see, that
sorry.
was a bad situation to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah. So just be patient. You know what I mean? Have your fun and let it evolve naturally, and you should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you currently dating? I'm
Yes,
nosy.
I am currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Actively. Okay, cool. Oh, okay. Cousin,
Yes, ma'am.
you got some rebuttals for Mr. Craig Thomas?
Mm, no.
No.
Um, I think, you know, it's just, it is what it is when it comes to, online dating or dating in period in general.
Right.
Basically you have to um find that person. And I think one of the most important things he said is find that person that values you, or was it might have been
Exactly.
coached. So you have to find that person who values you and really know who you are and what you're worth. And I think a lot of times as women, we we begin to settle. We settle
Mhm.
more. Men are more like, oh, no, not doing it. And we settle more. And so
Yep.
I think that when we get a better handle of who we are, when we get a better handle of who we are and what we're worth, it won't even
Mm-hmm.
phase us. You know what I mean? Because I think that
Yep.
when we recognize who we are and what we're worth, then we will also put those kind of standards on ourselves. And I don't mean being judgmental, but I mean getting what you deserve and not settling. And so many
Mm.
times as women, we settle because we feel like, oh, we're getting older, men are not out there, blase, blase, blue.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
reality is that there are many men out there. But again, we have our hangups too. Now, I'm not going to be funny. We have our hangups too. We might want a man that looks a certain way, has a certain bill, has a certain this, has a certain that. But I think we all need to move away from being so superficial, because
Mhm.
Absolutely.
when you're superficial, you have to really realize, okay, now her beauty may fade, her body may
Mhm.
fade, but what do you
Mhm.
have left? What even
Mhm.
happens if, when we're being real, what happens if somebody who's fine and so beautiful, what happens if there's a house fire and
Yes.
then she can't get out? Will you still love her when she gets out of the fire and now her whole face is all burnt up and her arms and everything is burnt up? Will is that true love? So I think that the
Yeah.
reality of it is that, can you love me in my brokenness? Like, because
Mhm.
Yeah.
something may happen. I may lose a loved one, and I may have never been to counseling before, but now my mom just died and I'm devastated. So can
Mhm.
you love me through my brokenness? Can you
Mhm.
love me in my good days? Can
Mhm.
you love me when I look good? Can you love me when I look bad? So
Mhm.
that's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for that one who can love all of me, all of
Mhm.
Chantel, not just Dr. Sean, not just
Mhm.
um, Chantel with potential, who is going to be successful and already is successful.
Right.
Can you love Chantel when she says, I don't want to do nothing but sit on this couch today and watch Lifetime, and I want to turn the phone off and don't want
Mhm.
to talk to nobody? Can you
Mhm.
love that part of Chantel?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm looking for. I'm just looking for that person who knows really who I am. And that
Yep.
person would be worthy of me.
That's right.
That's right. And you
That's
deserve that.
that's right.
And that's what I'm
Mhm.
saying. So they might not always come in the package that we had in our minds. And if you only think of that, if you only look at that, and I feel like chemistry can grow, but if you only look at that, you might miss the person that
Mhm.
God has for you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. I
Definitely.
I remember a couple of years ago while I was at work, my coworker, she we were having a similar conversation, and she was talking about how when she married her husband, she wasn't in love with him, but that she loved him. And I was like, "What? You?" Because because you think, "Oh, I'm all in love, and this is who I'm gonna marry," because we're
In love
so in
and
love.
loving is different.
She was like, "No."
Hmm.
She said, as the years grew, she felt more and more and more in love with him, right?
mhm,
She said, she had love for him, she had respect for him, um admiration, and it was on both sides, right? And
mhm,
she said everybody has this
Hmm.
idea of, you fall in love, but love is something that has to you have to
Gradually.
nurture and
Continue
cultivate. It
daily.
has to grow continuously. And she said, ask me now, am I in love with my husband? She said, absolutely. She said,
mhm,
but when we got married, I wasn't in love with him. And
mhm,
I'm like, okay, but I get it now, right?
mhm.
I get it. Back then I did, because I was like, I'm not marrying nobody I'm not in love with, but I did,
But it's
but
different stages of love. It's
yeah.
different stages of love. It determines what you need to be able to marry a person. Some
That's right.
people need to be totally in love, and some
Mm-hmm.
people just need to know, I love you, you love me. But it's totally
Mm-hmm.
different. In love
Mm-hmm.
and I love you is totally
Right.
different.
Totally
In love
different.
is just, whew, that's some powerful stuff right there.
It has led many people astray. Mm-hmm.
Plenty of people. Oh my gosh, we have been just chopping it up tonight. This has been a very, very good
Yes,
topic
it has.
conversation because we've
Two
been
topics.
two topics, right? We've been chopping it up for almost 2 hours, and I just, it. We went over, right? But we still have our listeners and our viewers, and I personally want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for
Thank you.
spending this
Yeah.
evening with us, writing with us. I want to say till the wheels fall off because they're about to fall off. I know y'all tired. Some of us got to get up and go to work in the morning. So
Or
we
travel.
really right. So we really appreciate the fact that you all have been um, here with us and active. I mean, they've been sending the comments
Yes, they
and
have.
everything, right? And so we getting ready to wrap it up. And we will see y'all. Okay, so I guess, cousin, you want to wrap it up? Well, wait a minute. Before you do that, because I always do that, then I stop running my mouth. So we're going to ask our guest speakers if they
Okay.
would like, if they have any closing
Oh yeah.
remarks. And if they don't have any closing remarks, then cousin, you can take us on up out of here.
I
All
would just
right.
say, my website address, janetlynnboswell.com. You can find me there. You can find me on social media. Keep an eye out for my premiere of my Journey to 60 on YouTube at the end of
Yes,
November.
yes. Oh, and don't forget her
I
journaling
meant to ask
session.
you, is November your birthday month?
Mm-hmm.
She's special like us.
Oh,
That's why we get along so good. Because, all our birthdays
okay.
is in November.
I told you I'm a cousin, y'all. Y'all just didn't know. Y'all thought I was
Oh,
playing.
that's what I was feeling.
See, that's what we
Okay.
had. All November babies
Woo!
right here. Except for
November
the
the
miss.
what?
25th.
She just missed us.
Okay.
She just missed us. She's a Sag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius. We're
Mm-hmm.
Scorpios.
Oh,
Okay.
Could you
oh,
tell we special?
oh. You should have came a little earlier. It's okay.
Hey, I was
It's
born on
okay.
Thanksgiving. I was born on Thanksgiving. So,
That changes every year.
yes, it does.
Okay, thank you, Latrice. She said thank you for this much needed information. It was very helpful. Thank
Oh,
you. Thank you.
Oh,
Uh
yes,
Claire.
journaling session, free virtual journaling session, October 25th, 7 p.m. You can register on my website and I'll send you a Zoom link.
Yes. Craig.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to add is encourage people to go to Facebook and join Savannah Black Professionals Networking Group if you haven't already, because it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And there's strength in numbers.
Yes.
And you don't have to live in Savannah to be part of it.
Okay.
I
So,
was going to ask
definitely if you haven't already joined, by all means do so.
Well, I'm gonna
Yeah.
holler at you because I need a job.
Okay. And that's definitely a pleasure. I look forward to coming back and talking about the book within, hopefully next month.
Okay, okay. And what was that again? Savannah what?
Savannah Black Professionals Networking Group.
Okay, there it is. And
Yeah.
Latasha said good night. She enjoyed this. Thank you, Latasha. Thank you for
good
joining
night,
us.
Natasha.
Yes, and all right,
Coach Danny
cuz.
also had a lot of
Oh
comments as
yes, she
well.
did. I think
So we want to
Coach
thank you,
Danny, you still
Coach
here?
Danny, for all of your comments.
Yes. And my sis Tanya and Love. We wants to thank everybody for joining us and interacting with us tonight. We love y'all. Cousin.
We love you. Okay, so for
Have a good
those of
night,
you who
ladies.
were listening, and if you missed part of the show, tonight's show was awesome. We were basically talking about living life after 50. So we tapped into so many different topics, such as dating, the emotional impact of aging, and also how do you cope with aging? So, in all of that, we have concluded that aging is something that we all encounter. And so, we need to figure out what it is about aging that we fear and figure out ways in which for us to be able to process, grow, and find peace in it. So, in actuality, everyone on this show tonight, we're proud to say we're in our 50s and we're aging gracefully and in peace. So, again, we love you to all of our viewers and all of our listeners. We love you. Stay tuned. 2 weeks, we'll be back with another great topic and great speakers and guests. So, you all have a great night.